Mestich for the Human Rights Coalition.
Good morning, Minister Blair.
Good morning.
As the Minister of Public Safety, your portfolio included CBSA, CSIS, and RCMP, is that right?
Yes, as well as the Parole Board and Correction Services Canada.
Okay. And as current Minister of National Defense, your portfolio includes CSE, among other agencies, is that right?
Ma'am.
So I'm going to focus my questions on these agencies' work with various communities and getting your thoughts on where they might improve. So I'm going to start with Eritrea. And I'm not sure if you watched the community panels last week, but we heard from Gazay Hagos Berhe about ongoing repression by the Eritrean regime in Canada. And he particularly flagged that there may be some Eritrean proxy organizations in the country. To the best of your knowledge, has any investigation into potential Eritrean proxy organizations been undertaken or commenced by any of the agencies under your portfolios?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I can't disclose any information about ongoing or potential investigations. That would not be appropriate, nor would it be in the national interest.
Fair enough. As a general matter, do you think such an investigation would be valuable?
And again, that is to be determined by the evidence and the situation that our agencies may be dealing with. But again, I believe it's completely inappropriate to discuss in this forum any investigation that may or may not be taking place with regard to any of those matters.
Okay. In your opinion, do you feel there is room for improvement within these agencies so that they can better respond to and protect the various diaspora communities most vulnerable to transnational repression?
I will certainly acknowledge to you better as always possible. And I've also dealt with this as a law enforcement official for decades. I think it's important to reach out to those communities and to provide them. We have one of the most diverse countries in the world. And in order to support that important diversity in this country, it's important that all of our government agencies have a deep understanding, a cultural competency on some of the challenges such communities might face, and good lines of communication so that we can support and serve them better.
I agree with all of those suggestions. And beyond cultural competencies, I wonder what your thoughts are on subject matter expertise and training. And this is something that numerous diaspora communities have recommended, which is they've advocated for increased training of law enforcement so that if and when they call with instances of transnational repression, the folks who they speak to know what that is, know how to respond. In your opinion, would you agree that increased training for law enforcement would be valuable?
And again, I spent much of my life in law enforcement and was in charge of the largest municipal police service in the country. We worked very hard to develop that cultural competency within our organizations. Just as an example, I used to maintain 9 different cultural consultative communities where leadership from those communities would be brought in on a monthly basis to meet with our senior officials and to engage with my officers, the intent being that we would learn from them and that we would develop a trusting relationship with them that would enable us to better serve them.
Numerous diaspora communities have also advocated for the relevant hotlines or networks to be available in multiple languages. What do you think of this suggestion?
Yeah, I think I've already mentioned cultural competency, but I think language competency is also really important, particularly in diverse communities. And so it's always a work in progress. Also, in my experience, reaching out to those communities and engaging with them to help us to provide those that language competency and those services to all of the diverse communities in the country is also very valuable, and I think it's proven its value a number of times. And certainly, I'm aware it can be very challenging, but it is also very helpful.
Do you have any other suggestions for possible improvements based on your experience?
Based on my experience, I've tried to actually operationalize anything I might suggest. But as I've said, I think because of the diversity and some of the challenges our various diaspora communities experience, I think that's always going to be a work in progress, and it needs to be a focus for all of us who have responsibility for keeping people safe.
Numerous diaspora communities have also advocated for a provision of physical support, psychological support, mental health support. What do you think of these suggestions?
Yes, ma'am. I understand an awful lot of people that have come from these diaspora communities based on the trauma that they've experienced in the countries that many of them have fled in order to come to Canada. And I think the services and support that we're able to provide to them will enable them to live rich, prosperous lives in Canada and to contribute to our nation.
Thank you so much. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.